Most event pros start because they're creative, not because they're ever thinking about how do I run a business. But here's the truth: talent alone doesn't take you from a hobby to a high end, profitable business. If you've ever asked yourself, how do I price this? How do I attract clients who pay luxury prices? How do I make this more than just crafting? Then today's episode is made just for you. I'm super excited because today we're going to be with Tracey, and she's the owner and creative force behind a growing luxury sign business in the district area. And I'm excited to be able to have her share her take on the event industry. Plus, she's going to talk about how she took a passion into a brand and how it elevates weddings, corporate events, and large scale productions with work that commands premium pricing. Thank you so much for being a guest today, Tracey. I'm super excited about this conversation and being able to have other people hear about your journey and being in this part of the industry.
Thank you so much for having me, Jesse. I appreciate the opportunity.
It's my absolute pleasure. One of the things that I really value on this platform is being able to have people hear from different people in the industry in different sectors. Because I feel like sometimes we only hear from wedding planners and like just them in general. Or you may hear from venue owners, but let's be honest, the wedding or the event industry in general is a very big industry, and there's so many different niches that you can actually go into. So what I would love to be able to hear about is like, why did you choose to actually get into doing signage and luxury signs as that?
So we started back, I want to say maybe 2013. My daughter, 27 at the time, who was about 15, 16 at the time, she started making cake pops. And as she was making her cake pops, I would make the bases or the displays for her cake pops. Then her portion started to grow. And then I started working on crafts, and we had a launch party for my CPR company. And that launch party started the design portion of the business. So we added desserts. We were doing eat full blown events. And for years, I thought I wanted to add something custom. I wanted to do something different for my events. So someone had showed me a sign that someone had made, and I thought, this is interesting. I like working with my hands. So that's what I got started into making signage. We started out with wood signage and then just continued to go. So I like the
And
customization.
and the thing is that I feel like really the custom signage has really I feel like it's really been more present, and I feel like at one point it was almost seen as not a mandatory kind of thing, but I feel like it's like, oh, if I'm gonna do an event, I can't just have the cheap like paper sign with the rainbow color.
No,
Like,
can't do that anymore.
those days, I'm sure someone will be like, "What is that?" And I'm sure some people listening or watching this are like, "What are you talking about?" Back in the day, you would go to Party City and these places and
Mhm.
you'll buy these rainbow signs,
Yeah.
and now it's like, "Oh, I need to now have" I see actual vendors wanting to make sure they have, like, high grade signage, but you're also finding that, it's a request that
Yeah.
people are making, as actually, like, reaching out to you directly, and are you seeing that it's becoming more in demand?
Yes, it is. I have some clients that for every event they have signage. And that
Mhm,
means custom signage for each event.
mhm,
I feel that if you don't have signage, then how are you really promoting the event? Not
mhm,
necessarily the planner, but the event. How are
mhm.
you how are you letting everyone know who this event is for? So
Yeah.
it's about the celebration, whether it's for just clients having like special occasions or it's businesses. Corporate events want to make sure that their brand and their sponsors are promoted. So it is a necessity to have at pretty much any event. I even seen them at funerals now.
'Cause I was wondering, like, is this more like something you see in the social vein, or is this in or do you find that you get more requests maybe in the corporate, or is it equal on both sides, would you say?
The corporate aspect has been picking up over the past 2 years. It
Mhm,
really just started out with wedding and events, but corporate has really increased. Like I've worked with more brands over the past 2 years than ever.
mhm.
So it is becoming something that they have to have because you don't want to leave anyone out.
Yeah.
And you always want every brand wants their brand at the forefront of whatever they do. So having it on paper is taboo now.
Yeah, yeah, I remember. I mean, you just go it's so funny. It feels like when we say or when you hear back in the day, we're not even talking about like 20, 30 years ago. We're talking about in the last 5, 10 years. I remember even myself in my business, we would print like you'll spend money and do like a really cool printed design, but that you'll put in a frame and you just keep repeating that. But now it's like having this custom signage is something that's really growing. So for those that are listening, what are the most common materials that people are wanting inside of this type of request?
Foam. Foam
Mhm,
is a easier material to get, it's cheaper, it's usually for, like, one-day use. Vinyl
mhm,
is another, where you can have removable vinyl or you can have permanent vinyl, depending on the event. Most events are only using removable vinyl, whereas though someone wants some signage, let's say on their storefront door, they're gonna use permanent vinyl. Wood, we use wood. Acrylic, there are so
mm,
many different shades and types of acrylic.
yeah.
Another material that people are really starting to use is fabric. I just did some
Mm,
event where I use leather. You'll see a lot of fabric signs now where it's linen or silk or satin. Those are the main types of signage. Oh, and metals. I don't get to
okay.
work with metals, but metals is another type of material that people often use as well.
Out of those that you listed, which one do you get the most requests for?
Acrylic.
Okay.
Acrylic,
Okay.
but when I started, it was wood because that's
Mm,
really what I knew how to do. But I
mhm,
think as people start to understand how beautiful acrylic is and how versatile it is, I have a whole I even wholesale acrylic at this point, but
mm.
acrylic is what I usually work with.
'Cause I'm glad you mentioned that because I was gonna lead into the next question. Because when I heard about the removable vinyl, one of the things I thought of is, like, often when you're seeing, like, these food carts at events, or
Uh-huh.
even, like, my church, we have events often, and so the party decor person, like, they have their staple items, but
Mhm.
the personalization is through, I'm assuming, the vinyl lettering and design that they're putting onto that item. Is that correct? Is that how they're you don't have to know specifically, but is that what you find that with party decor people, they're like, I need to have this sign to go on the outlining of this item? Is that what they're doing?
Yes. So I have a client who's a bakery owner and she has a cart and her
Mhm,
stuff is permanent. She
mm,
has, I want to believe, acrylic on her cart. If
okay,
she is going to have, let's say she's going to a sweet 16,
mm,
she'll order a sign, not necessarily change the entire bar. She'll order a
yeah,
sign that's simply something that she can either give the client or throw away if she wants. That
yeah,
might be acrylic or it might be vinyl. But some people, if they're changing often, let's say their face of their bar sign, then that
yes.
usually is removable vinyl.
And so that's so cool. And like, cause I always, I'm like, I know that they're not destroying this cart
No,
each and every
this
time.
vinyl.
But I love the little nugget you shared because I think that that can be a really great upsell for people that may be listening that are in the design aspect, or they have a service that they provide and they're partnering with someone that does design. I think an upsell of them getting a custom sign
Mhm,
that they can like, we'll use it this day, but here's what you'll pay if we keep it
mhm,
because you can reuse it or whatever the case is,
mhm,
or this can be something you can have, you know, I
mhm.
think that that's a really great option. Or like, what are some things that you've seen or that you've created that have been great upsells for planners?
So so it depends on it depends on the budget. Like and
Yeah.
I'll tell some of my clients if the budget is not high and
Mhm.
you just want something just to have so it can look nice, I would suggest you go with foam because that
Mm,
way, no, it's way less expensive than anything else.
mhm,
If you want to, if it's a high end client and they're not about to go for foam, then
mhm,
I would suggest you can go ahead and use acrylic. Now, what
mm,
I created, and it hasn't really taken off, but created these signages where people could reuse them. So
mm,
the only thing you would the base would stay the same, but you would just change out the wording, and that way you could kind of reuse it. You would just change the wording for the side for the different events. That hasn't really taken off because I really haven't pushed it much, but I think
okay.
that's a way to go for some people like bartenders. I
Yes.
work with a lot of bartenders who want signage, but they don't want to have to buy a whole new
Yeah.
sign every time. They just want to change out the concept. So
y-
I think that's a really good idea. That way you
Yeah.
can keep reusing the sign, but
Yeah.
I find that a lot of my clients still just want acrylic.
Yeah. Because I feel like that. especially because I've been seeing a lot of coffee shops, and that might be because that's what my algorithm is like. You keep talking about events and you keep looking and liking people with coffee carts. I don't even drink coffee,
Me
but
either.
but it's always cool when I see like boba carts and the one thing that's been picking up are ramen food carts. And
Mhm.
so like I think what could be a great option for anyone that is in the design aspect of it, and I want to this will lead into the next question, is like understanding what can be potential clients you can pitch to. So like how you mentioned, bartenders are really great
Mhm.
to because they need this type of service. They may or may not know that this is something that they can do, or they may assume that it's going to cost too much, or like because there's a lot of assumptions, and I think the best thing inside of the event industry is collaboration
Mhm.
compared to trying to do it all yourself. So, like, if you can find bartenders, if you can find food carts, coffee cart companies, like, and pitch to them, because with creative, like, this is a specific niche with doing custom signage. You can either directly try to attract clients, or you can also have intentional collaborations with people that have connections to clients that will need your type of service. So for you, do you actually try to partner with planners and individuals that have services that are client facing, or do you try to typically attract the client as your initial what's your preference?
I prefer to work with the business owner, not necessarily the client, because a lot of
Yes.
times the clients aren't aware of what they need. They
Yes.
think they know because they looked on Pinterest, but reality, the planner is already producing everything. They already
Mhm,
know what the color schemes are and the themes,
mhm.
and they're just easier to work with. The clients kind of they dance around a lot of things because they
Yeah,
just don't really know. So I really would prefer to have to work with the plan. I mean, the planner, the event designer, the business
yeah.
owner versus the client. Probably 1% of my business comes from actual clients.
And so I love the fact that technically the signage part is a B2B business. And so like this is important for us to think about because again, often I feel as if we're focusing so much on like the B2C component
Mhm.
compared to being an actual resource to other business owners.
Mm.
Because like I feel that that's the way to work smarter than harder when it comes to signage. Like think if you had X amount of planners, or even if you don't want to work with planners, you're working with actual bar companies because there's a lot of mobile food carts and mobile bars. Like if you work with the right ones, because again, everyone isn't going to attract the kind of clientele that's going to have value in it. But
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
if you charge a certain price and you have a bartender that's busy and they have an upscale service and they can bring you 5 to 10 clients a month, and think about if you can attract a client, like it can add
Mhm.
up. Am I like, is that
Yeah.
the case?
That is the case. So we work with a slew
Hmm.
of business owners. So from caterers, chefs, hair salon owners. We just we want our goal. My goal is really to help those businesses brand.
Hmm.
So the client is usually the end goal. The audience is the end goal. So you
Yeah.
want we're really even though I might work with directly with the business owner, the end result is the audience.
Yes,
Yes.
for
So
the
I
beat.
work with a lot of mostly in the wedding and event industry.
Hmm.
However, I'm not however, but my goal is to help them please their client, really. So the
Yes.
client is really the end result. The audience,
Hmm.
their audience is the end result, but I
Yeah.
directly work with the business owner and I find that now because it's promoted on social media, now because everybody wants it. When I see a paper sign that someone has created, I'm like,
Yeah.
so I think that they are starting to pick it up, but that is
Yeah.
easier for me to deal with in the
No, no, but I think that that's really important for people to realize when it comes to doing this is that realizing I can actually grow more inside of my business, my clientele, my revenue when I focus on being clear that I'm a B2B client, a B2B vendor. And
yes.
that is really the key because I know that sometimes some of the verbiage that is used may be confusing for some because like when I say vendor, people don't understand that they're a vendor.
Right.
And the power of partnering with planners, partnering with venues. Like I don't think a lot of businesses really know the power of leveraging
You
Like,
don't.
because I mean, even with what I do, a lot of people never pitch my business.
Would you be receptive to that if they did?
Yeah, if you're
Oh,
professional, yeah.
okay.
And I think that that's the part too about it. I would say in 15 years of doing what I do, I would easily say maybe less than 10 people have ever pitched me. I'm
Well, you
usually
know,
going after people and pitching to them like, "Hey, I'm looking for this."
I've never pitched. I mean, not to say that I haven't.
Mhm.
I really haven't. I've never necessarily had to. I planned on it. I had a whole sect, a whole marketing
Yeah.
pitch to be able to do it. I just never I just and I can't tell you why I haven't. Like, but I think because the business has been has been
Yeah.
so much I haven't had to,
Yeah.
but I think that it's necessary, and I think maybe it's a little unknown because I don't not necessarily I don't want rejection. I just don't know how I know how my service would benefit them. I
Yeah.
just don't know how receptive they would be to it. So
But that's
that's why I think I never actually fulfilled it.
honestly, I think that outreach having because okay, so fairness, before I went into events, I used to work for a chemical company. I did sales outreach. So
Mhm.
I consider myself in certain aspects a hunter,
Mhm.
so I'm not just like, oh, maybe if I post a video, maybe someone comes. Like I just, that's
Mhm.
never, I mean, probably too, because 15 years ago, we really weren't relying on social media like that. If I
Mhm.
wanted to get clients, I had to make calls. So one of the things about it is that for people when they do outreach, I feel as if it gives us this approach or this appearance that you are not a hobbyist. And nothing's wrong with it. So please, anyone that's listening to this is not a dig. But with certain levels of businesses and depending on who their client is,
Mhm.
because ultimately it's important to understand people clients. So like if you're going to pitch to people, one, you have to understand, does my service align to that person's ideal client base? So,
Mhm.
like, if
Mhm.
you're seeing someone, there's a planner, but they're not necessarily doing elaborate anything or
Mhm.
very mid level kind of things, may not, depending on the service you do, it may not make sense to do outreach to them.
Mhm.
But what you find is that we're often looking for people because one of the things we hate doing is sourcing people. Like we really do, because for
Mhm.
us, it takes us reaching out to a bunch of individuals to potentially get only one that's actually
Mhm.
a good fit.
Right.
So I think that there can be a lot of power in doing outreach and doing understanding that sometimes it's kind of having some type of strategy for
Mhm.
follow-ups and things of that nature, because sometimes too it might not be a need right now, or it
Mhm.
might been something that until you reach out you'll never know. Because,
Right.
like, the thing about it is that there's a lot of people that just entered into the event industry, but I don't think it's oversaturated by no means. But the thing is that it's aligning and leveraging with those that are going to be a good fit. So you get to choose. Like, that's the part about it, is that if you're doing outreach to be a preferred vendor or to have those partnerships, understand you're going to have three types of people. One is going to be the one that's been like, just ghost.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
there, and that's fine. I don't care about those. The other
Mhm.
one is going to be someone that is trying to figure out how to leverage the relationship,
Mhm.
and so that is beneficial. And
Mhm.
actually, I did a video on Green Eyed Ambition about this, so to go check it out too for
Okay.
anyone who's listening. But I was talking about vendor relationships because if
Mhm.
you go into it, and I like how you said, you know how you can help them.
Mhm.
Like if you go into like, oh, I'm going to try to find the person with the most subscribers and followers on TikTok and Instagram, reach out to them. They're going to feel like all you're trying to do is ride their coattail.
Right. Right. Right.
But it comes down to leading with understanding. I can help you solve a problem. And it's
Mhm.
not for me to in this spill to tell you how to sell yourself. But you're gonna have that person that's gonna be like, okay, I have clients that can potentially use a signage. How can I? Like, so it might be someone that has for anyone that wants to reach out to people that someone that does corporate events and they do brand activations, they may need a backup
Oh,
for
they do. Yeah.
signs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They
it's
do.
like you can reach out to them and they're like, okay, I have the upcoming things they're already taken care of, but I want to still work with you, but I just don't have anything right now. But then
Right.
that's when you nurture. And then they're going to be the third one is the one that's hot. That's like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm so glad I've been looking for someone. The people I've had haven't been reliable. So you're going to always have those three sectors of people. What often people find is that they focus on the first one, the one that never was going to. And then they rob themselves of the second and third, the one that's
Um,
looking for the opportunity to work with them, or the
mhm.
person that's been waiting for someone that's reliable. So I highly recommend for anyone that's on the vendor side, do it.
I think it's
Do
a
it.
good idea. I think now that you said it, I don't know what I was talking about. I had a plan, and the plan was over this year, I was working on my website,
Yeah.
making sure that I was clear because I
Mhm.
think on my end, I wasn't always clear about first of all, I wasn't clear on who I was serving. I
Mm.
wasn't clear on what I was offering, and I
Mhm.
wasn't clear in my mind. So if I'm not clear, then I can know there's no way for
Yeah.
me to be able to tell that and
Mm.
pass that on to someone else. I wanted to make sure everything was aligned, the website was aligned, and so I
Mm.
had been working on that. And my
Mm.
goal was to start pushing things out before I reached out to anyone else or before I
Mm.
ever reached out as of next year. That was the goal. I totally forgot about that because I didn't feel like I was clear. Like I'm not clear in my messaging. I'm not clear in
Yeah.
who I'm talking to. So I had to get clarity. And I think like this past year I've been a little quiet. I mean,
Mm.
I'll post, but I've been quiet about certain things because I've been trying to make sure that I'm clear. So when I take off, I take off. But yeah,
But if you know that you're really geared towards B2B, then
hmm
it's showing content that
oh,
is like, so like when it comes to when you do TikTok and things like that, is really, which is different than if you're doing B2C.
hmm
So like when I think it's important when you're creating marketing materials, we are wanting to make sure we are making the right person see the solution. And when we want everyone to see the solution, what someone that is a planner is looking for is going to be different than what the
hmm
actual bride or whatever. So like, because the thing is that when you're speaking directly to other businesses, you can
hmm
actually say that.
right.
Like and doing it. So yes, I highly recommend to anyone that it could be on the supplier side or the vendor side, reach out to people, pitch to them because a lot of times people don't and it's not the most enjoyable. Like I've had it where recently I had a DJ um, that reached out, and he only reached out because another one of my vendors had recommended for him to reach out. And so when he reached out, I was like, oh, like I would love to. Like I looked at his stuff. I'm like, I right now don't have any requests, but I'll reach out. So right now I only reach out to him a few times a year. But
hmm
also the thing is that when there's a demand, I'm still giving him an opportunity.
right.
Like for some, depending on the category that someone serves, you may hit the 2 and the 3. Like he falls in a 2 right now
hmm
with some sprinkle of opportunities. So I think for people with signage, thinking to yourself, like if you're really wanting to lean into being a supplier and a vendor, having a strategy to be able to attract and touch those people. And so one of the things I would love for you to share, though, is like through this journey, I'm glad that you've had experience with customers or consumers as well as actual businesses. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned this year about having a luxury sign business? So, if you've been listening long enough, I believe creativity is amazing, but systems build the business that you are dreaming. That's why I created the free time framework. It's designed to help you stop from winging it every week to being able to have the structure you need inside of your business. By clicking on the QR code that's right here, or you're able to click on the link inside of the description. Now back to this episode.
Clarity, ensuring that I'm clear. And like I said, in who I am speaking to, I also want to ensure that they're clear, that they know who their business is when they're presenting it, when they're showcasing it. Depending on the concept, if a client is having a launch party, I want to make sure that
Mm,
they have all of their things in place, their
mhm,
logo, their copy before they give it to me. Because a
mhm.
lot of times, smaller business owners are not. All of they don't have a brand kit.
Yeah.
So when they get to me, they can just say, "Well, you can have your own. just do what you want to do," and that it doesn't work for
Mhm,
me. I want to make sure that what I do aligns with your brand. And
mhm.
I'll tell some clients no.
Yeah.
I want you to be clear, and that's what I let them know. I want you to be clear in what you're presenting. If what you're providing, what you want doesn't align, I'm going to let you know. It's like, how about we shift so that
Mhm.
your message is clear? Clarity has been something that I've worked on, and I think I've gained. a better sense of this past year.
Do you try to have them fill out questionnaire? Like, how do you ensure that you're gathering that messaging?
I have a one-on-one consultation with them,
Mhm,
for newer clients. If I know them and I've been working with them, I already know their brand. We already
mhm,
have that together. But a lot of times, I'll have a one-on-one consultation with newer customers to
mm.
find out what they want and who the business is.
Oh,
So I fill out a questionnaire from my
okay,
end.
awesome. And for you, I'm sure that different clients have different needs, and that
Mhm.
comes at different cost. How on average, what would you say that people are spending with you, and how did you come about with what's the best pricing for you and your business?
So I would believe it's a tier,
Okay.
because if I'm doing just a bar sign for a a bartender, that might range, from 100 to $150.
Mhm,
If I'm doing 10 bar signs for Aflac's
mhm.
annual party, that's going to be a little different.
Yeah,
So it ranges and what they also want. Most people don't just order a bar sign. Most people might order like I don't necessarily have packages yet, but they might
yeah.
order a bar sign and drink stairs and menu cards. So it
Mhm.
ranges. I want to say average, somebody might spend with me about 350
Okay.
per order, but those again are most smaller events, but then you
Mm,
got large scale events where we're doing coasters,
mm,
200 drink stairs, 4 leather bar signs,
mm,
15 menu cards for
yeah.
corporate events.
Good deal. Like, that's awesome to know. And I'm sure with some of the changes that's been happening with tariffs and things of that nature, how have you been able to deal with any of those impacts when it comes to your materials and staying ahead of it when it comes to pricing your services correctly?
Analysis, I base the pricing. I think you did ask,
Mm,
how did I guess, come up with the pricing? How much
mm,
the material costs, how much time it takes, how much work I have to do on the back end, how much of your design do I have to fix? How much is it going to take for me? How many revisions did it take? So I
mm,
try to factor that in, especially if it's already a design I know it's different, but the custom designs makes it a little bit harder because
mm,
I might go in thinking this is going to be a cinch. It's going to take 5 minutes where it took me 5 hours. So that
yeah.
happens, and I kinda base it on what I've done previously and really how much work I have put in it. As far as tariffs, I maybe on a different aspect, I've not run into it because I actually, like I said, I had lots of material already on hand.
Already? Oh, okay.
Already, I've always had it, and so when it comes time, like now it is time for me to start ordering some stuff, and I think I might run into it. Factor that in when I'm giving pricing. So pricing
Mm,
is gonna change as of January
yeah.
just to ensure that I factor that in. I there's a pretty good
Mhm,
profit margin for me. I am willing, and I've had to, you know, take a little less than what
mhm,
I'm used to at times.
mm. S
2026, the prices have to increase.
Yes, I think for every business owner, like, I've actually been sitting down and working on mines going for I'm like, 2026, I'm like, my operating costs are getting slapped in the face,
Yes. Yes.
like, fun times of being a business owner. So, one of the things that I really enjoy about, like, you and how you share about, like, your pricing and your structure is, like, it ultimately comes down to like having some type of process. So one of the things I'm curious about for you, how do you ensure that you have your client approves, I guess that's the best way. So that you're not creating a design and then I'm
Mhm.
like, or does that happen often? Like you getting as many approvals prior to you using materials so that you're not like if someone does a design and now you've created the sign. I know you don't want to waste a product
Mhm.
without them approving. How do you ensure that before you print something that you're not having that revision after the fact?
Nothing goes to print until it's approved.
Okay.
So, and I try to get as much information up front. We have a website, so they can start by viewing what we have on the website. If they want a
Mhm,
semi-custom design, that just helps them. You can order on the website. You can look on the website and say, okay, I like this concept, but if you want changes, then that goes into customization. If they want something totally different than they don't see on the website, send me an idea what you want. I do not
mhm,
try to copy anyone's work, but we use that as inspiration. come up with a concept, I will not do anything until I'm paid. Payment has to be made prior to me starting the overall design because again, I do have to factor in cost. I do have to factor in make it if I don't have that, you want rose gold mirrored acrylic. If I don't have that in stock, I have to order it. So I need the
Mm,
funds to be able to
mm,
make the item, but a proof. So we design. So the step is once the invoice has been paid, then it goes to the design phase. So that might take, depending on what I'm doing, it might take a few days to be able to come up with the design. Then the design goes to the customer, the client,
mm.
and they have to make the revisions. Once they have finalized the revisions and they gave their approval, then it goes to production.
Okay.
Generally, I try to avoid that because I've done that before where I've jumped the gun and they're like,
Yeah.
well, I don't that. So no, we that was earlier. I generally not do not do that anymore.
Yeah, I was curious about that. So, like, I'm glad you said that early on. What was one of, like, for you, like, what was a lesson? Like, if you could now go and talk to Tracy that was starting the business, what's one thing that you would tell her so that she can avoid some of the heartache, I guess, or of her business growth challenges when you first
Have
started?
a my sister is always a stickler for this. Have them fill
Mhm,
out a form to make sure you get everything at once. I do not
yeah,
like doing the back and forth. So
mhm, mhm,
Tracy, little Tracy, make sure you get all the information up front. The colors.
yeah,
You're clear with the client as to what they are looking for, and you're clear as to what you can offer,
mm,
and make sure that that is known. You want to make sure you have everything up front, and make sure you give the proof and have them approve it before
okay.
you move forward. So that is what I would tell myself.
Awesome. Yeah, because I think that that would probably be one of the biggest learning growth lessons from a design aspect is making sure that you're not wasting one, your time, two, your materials. And I hope that anyone that is in the creative side of it, like, I think it doesn't matter if you're doing signage, it doesn't matter if you're doing decor. Like, you want to get the approvals before you just go out there and start creating things, just out of your time respect.
Mock-ups are and also so there was an incident where not an incident, a situation
Mm,
where my client wanted this 3D sign. And I another thing is sometimes I've done concepts before I've gotten paid
mm,
and I've wasted a lot of time. So
yes.
before we did this project, in order for me to even start, I have to be able to create a fee. And not a lot of times, I didn't like dealing with money. I didn't like
Mm,
asking for money. It was a really big thing for me. But then, I thought in order for me to be able to do the job, I need to ask for the money has to be up there, even if I'm creating a initial design, because some stuff requires actual hands-on work. And that one
mm.
required hours worth of work. So I think I would also tell myself that up front. Make sure if you're going to do something because you've never done it before, before you offer, let them know how much it's going to cost, you need to be able to create a prototype. So that's something that I would definitely say.
And so you mentioned the website as well as getting forms. What tech are you using to help with running your business?
I use Wix for my
Okay.
website.
Okay.
I use ClickUp. Well, I have ClickUp. I don't use it often, but
Okay.
ClickUp, that's what I'm supposed to be moving towards using ClickUp, which would help kind of streamline everything. Google Calendar, Google Drive, Illustrator, Canva, QuickBooks, those types of
Okay.
things. Mhm.
Okay. Awesome. So, like, with you really focusing on creating a luxury product for your clients, regardless if it's a business or a direct client, they're really not just looking for a product. They're trying to have an experience or
Yes.
added value with what they're purchasing from you. So, what shifted in your marketing or branding to help you start attracting premium buyers? Because you said you don't reach out to people. I mean, you don't reach out to people, they're reaching out to you. So what
Mhm.
has helped you with attracting that type of buyer?
Photography. That's a huge thing for us, for signage makers,
Mm,
because a lot of times we create things in-house. And I
okay.
don't have like a whole studio in order to be able to get images. I try my best. Literally, I have spent hours and money to try to create this studio, but
Mhm,
photographs really make they sell it. So
mm,
that is something really great. I mean, I brought photographers in to be able to do things, but photography is, I would say, number one
okay.
because without any caption, the photography tells everything.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. My messaging and making sure that I'm speaking to that client.
Mhm.
not just anyone. And when I started years ago, I was speaking to everyone.
Yeah.
But as I've gained clarity, I ask myself, who am I speaking to when I'm reading
Mhm.
something or I'm standing out loud or I have, a contractor working with me and they're working on my social media.
Mhm.
Who are we speaking to? Are we talking to that person? So just making sure we craft the message to the audience we're trying to attract.
So do you use a regular camera for your content and capture, or do you use your cell phone?
I
Either
have
or.
I have 3 cameras. I have a
Okay.
Sony ZV-E10 that I just told somebody. I don't even know how to use it. So
Mm,
I have that, and then I also have my iPhone, and I have another DSLR camera.
okay.
I've taken photography classes. I've done a slew of things to try to make sure that I can capture that. And I'm not great at it, but I try.
Yeah.
One more thing that you asked, what else have I been doing? Consistent. I have been very consistent about being present.
Mm,
Now, as far as being on social media, I used to go live every week.
mm,
I haven't done that often, but I would go live on Facebook and Instagram. I am always posting so that people can see me because it's always the top of mind because they'll
mhm.
look at you and be like, I have to reach out to you. I
Yeah.
need to, but if I'm not there, then they won't see me. So I think that's another thing that has helped me, that's helped my business grow.
That's awesome, and I love that you shared that you were going live. I feel like going live, one, it helps because I feel like sometimes when people do, like, signage in general, they don't always share themselves, if that makes sense. It's only like, "Oh, here's a photo of just the sign," and so then people don't connect to you, like, how you might be passionate about what you do. So I'm glad that that's something that you were doing. Do you think you wanna get back to doing that in
I am.
2026?
I needed a break. So I never said that. I have 7 children, which I didn't say
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So yeah, I have a lot. So I just but no, but 4 grown, and then I still have 3 younger ones. But so that has consumed a lot because my daughter just started high school.
Okay.
But I will go live, but, in live you have to have yourself together. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not just randomly beautiful, I gotta get myself together. So that was a lot. It was draining to have to stop everything. So in 2026, I do plan on going live more. I do share a lot of behind the scenes, but I'm generally not in the image because a lot of times
Yeah,
I don't, it's not all together. But I have shared the ugly, I've shared the pretty, and I do enjoy if I could just get up there and just be as is, it would be great. But I know
yeah,
that the area has to be neat and it has to be conducive and it does not always look like that. And
yeah,
so I definitely will be working on that and during the holiday, trying to train some things over. But
yeah.
I enjoy doing it. I know on Fridays I used to do for 15 minutes, it was called Branding Insights, where I would talk to business owners about and giving them tips on enhancing their brand. We did the
Mhm.
KKNS Academy
Yeah.
where we would go live, and we also had I also had in person and virtual classes to help business owners grow.
Mhm.
And we did some work for Jack and Jill. We did a branding session for that foundation.
Okay.
We've done some other things for some involving branding. So that's something that I want to continue in
Yeah.
2026 and just I guess just being in front of the camera.
Okay.
So that's I plan on doing that.
So it's great to hear that you've been doing all those things. I'm curious, when you first started doing this, did it start out thinking like, "Oh, I'm gonna make this into a business," or was it a hobby? Like, you're like, "Oh, this is gonna be something fun to do." Was it like going into it as a hobby?
No, I went into it because my to be honest, daughters were going my oldest 2 were teenagers, and they were giving me a lot like, I wanna say that this business saved my life,
Mm.
literally, because I coulda went crazy. Like, 2 teenage girls at the same time going
Yeah.
crazy, like, it saved my life. So, it turned out I just need something to keep me busy, to keep me active,
Mhm.
because I had lost my job in 2014. I was teaching in DC at one point, and I had to stop because the distance was so far.
Mm.
But, so it not only did it help me be able to work from home, it saved my life because I needed something to do to deal
Mm.
with the stress of these kids, going crazy. I
Yeah.
did not think about, "Oh, this is gonna be a business." Maybe in, like, a couple of years when the orders started coming in and the
Mm.
events started, because I was doing more events at that time. They were coming in. It's just something, I think, and then I started thinking, I'm like, "Wait a second, I really can do something," but I needed it to click where I don't wanna be present just to be here. I have to make a
Mm.
difference. I want to
Mhm.
be able to offer the world something and give something back. How can I connect this to my previous experience in my education, and how can I make it work? so that I
Mhm.
am helping people because I always wanted to help people. And I
Yeah.
feel like I found my groove at this point.
Awesome. And the thing is I think sometimes what gets people from starting is that we feel as if we have to have everything already thought out when
Right.
we first started. And it's okay if we start out as a hobby. And the thing is that it's okay if you never turn it into a business. I feel like
Mhm.
social media sometimes could be super toxic. Like it's like everyone work for yourself. And I'm like, I talk to my friends like I'm 15 years in. Like this ain't for everybody.
It's
This is
not.
a journey.
It is hard. It is hard. You have to
Yeah.
be I've always been intrinsically motivated in anything that I do. I'm a goal
Yeah.
setter. I only work towards goals.
Yes.
But once I have that goal, I'm gonna go full in.
Yeah.
Now my sister's like, "Well, you need to do this and you need to do that." Like my brain does not wire it that way. I'm gonna jump in the pool even if I can't swim because I
Yeah.
know that at the end, the thought didn't come into my mind for any reason. So let me
Yeah.
see what I can do with this. I was told to quit, that I wasn't making enough money, go get you a regular job. And I'm like, well, if the opportunity persists, I'm just gonna keep on going. So
Yeah.
I showed up for myself even when I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And so it's grown into something amazing.
And so I'm sure through this process that you've had to learn a lot of different things. But when you really took this as a serious company, what were some clear signs that you needed to have structure, boundary, or growth? Like or a growth strategy, because I think that we all it's like the fork in the road where you're like,
Mhm,
I either got to change how I've been doing things, and if I don't, this won't be
mhm.
around. What was like that thing as a clear sign for you?
Messing up on orders. And deadlines, that was like, it not just once or twice, a couple of times, like, my friend
Mhm.
was like, "Tracy, you gotta stop. You need a manager. You need
Yeah.
someone. You need" and I'm like, "I need systems. I can't rely on contractors, to be honest. I can't rely on someone else. I have to have the systems, and then I have to bring the other people in." So,
Yes.
missing deadlines, which broke my heart, like, it wasn't intentional, but I was trying to remember everything, writing everything down, and that just was not working. Said, like, "You have to change because if you're gonna be working with high-end people, they're not about to hear you tell them
Mhm.
you messed up on an order or you forgot the deadline. That's just not heard of,
Mhm.
so get it
Mhm.
together, and that's what pushed me.
And I think that's a real response. Like, I feel like that is something we all hit that road is either you start making mistakes or you burn out. Like,
Mhm,
I've had it where some people, like vendors of mine, like they got rushed to the hospital,
mhm,
and I'm just like, hold on, what? You had health issues going on, and you like
mhm.
you were just ignoring all of this stuff. And it's a real feeling that we have. And then we realize like something has to change. So I would love to know like what's one lesson that really so outside of the missed order, what's one lesson you've learned the hard way that someone else can avoid if they're doing this business?
Be clear. Keep going back to clarity. Be
Mhm,
clear in what you're providing and what you're not providing. Sometimes some people have thought, "Oh, well, I thought you were gonna do this." So just making sure everything that you have is written out and is clear.
mhm,
Having a contract, which I would say I didn't think that I necessarily needed a contract that was another thing was kind of hard about contracts, but depending on what I do, just having a contract. One
mhm.
of the just let me try to think. Having a contract and being clear. I would say those are the two main things because you want to and even in the contract you have to be clear about what you're offering.
A
I mean, it
thousand
was
percent.
had thought that they were gonna get, like, this three-dimensional sign, and that's not what you paid for,
Yeah,
that's not what we discussed,
yeah,
and, she was a little upset, and I'm like, "No, it's just the image, it's not an actual 3D sign because
yeah,
you didn't pay for that, and I never
yeah,
did that before, so that wasn't something I offered." So just being clear, those things, just be clear in what you offer to the client is one of the main
yeah.
things.
I'm always super surprised when Um, I will hear sometimes people that do not do contracts. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Any part of what we do in the event industry could end up in, I'm like, we've all heard of brides suing planners. Like, it doesn't matter what we do. Someone can, especially this day and age, I feel like some people have bad intentions just in general, just to get over. And that's why I even recommend people to not receive payments on PayPal.
Mm,
PayPal is 1,000% client
mhm,
focused. And all it is someone has to say, I didn't like this. And PayPal's like, oh, great. We'll take that money back. And then I haven't ever heard anyone win a dispute on PayPal. Like, PayPal is a client-focused platform.
They are. So is Square. I have Square and
Yeah,
they did that, and I provided them all the information. The lady had asked for this particular she had asked for something so small, and
uh-huh,
I gave it to her. Sizing was the same, but she said that's not what she ordered, but it is. I gave them all the communication and they still
yeah,
sided with them. So I'm trying to find a way to get around that, and I don't that doesn't happen often, but
yeah.
sometimes some people will just be
Do shady
dishonest.
stuff, yes.
They do. Yep. They do.
So one of the things that I think that's really great is, like, in your journey, you've shared, like, the learning lessons, the start to it, like, what are some of the trends that are happening, but if someone is listening right now and they think, "I want to be able to do this full time, but I'm scared," what's your advice? I mean, like, I think you saying you have 7 kids and you're doing like, that alone for some people as an entrepreneur that I'm babysitting 3, and I don't know
Wow.
how. Like, people do this, I can only imagine 7. So, what's
Yeah.
advice some advice that you'll be able to give to someone?
Write out your end goal.
Mm,
What is it that you want to achieve? What do you want to accomplish? And
mm,
then break it up and then go backwards. So start at the end and then work it out. Break it up. Learn. You got to
yeah,
learn. You got to take classes. You got to educate yourself on what it is you're doing. Everybody wants, oh, I want what you have, but my machinery is super expensive
yeah,
and you have to learn how to operate it. You don't just have to operate, you have to learn how to fix it. So now you're a
yeah,
mechanic, you're a designer. So take classes. I'm in school now for graphic design and
mhm,
interior design. I'm always learning something. I'm looking at trends, seeing how I can be a part of it or do something different. So educate yourself on whatever it is that you want to do and go for it. You have to believe in yourself. So you have to find whatever motivates you to keep on going. And even when it's slow, because there are slow times, find something productive to do with your time. And if
yeah,
that means just working on your website, don't just allow that downtime to just lead you down an idle road. Do something productive whether it's just fixing things in your business, learning, reading, just
mm,
take the time and I don't sit idly at all. I mean, I
mm,
take a break, but I'm
yeah.
always doing something.
And I'm glad you mentioned about the learning because you actually threw that in several times in the conversation. And I had meant to ask you about that because I think that that sometimes can be the biggest hurdle for entrepreneurs is making that still a priority. Like
Mhm.
making sure we're learning how to do our craft. And especially for design, like it's not just enough to just, in my opinion, just watch TikTok to
Yeah.
figure this out. You're like, mm-mm.
It's lovely. I
It's
love it. I could
lovely.
be up there all day.
But we have to actually take the time to learn. Are you a member of any associations or groups like that?
I was a
Okay,
member of I can't think of the name, I'm sorry. I
okay.
was a member of it, and sadly, I did not attend many events only because of the timing of these things.
Mm,
They're not conducive to someone that has so
uh,
many children.
yeah, I
Um,
just thought about
but
that as I said it. I
yeah,
was like, "Hold
it
on."
is I mean, I try.
Yeah,
Chamber of Commerce, I'll attend some of their events. I'm this in 2026, I definitely will be doing more. I will be getting involved more. It's just kinda difficult because they play
mhm,
sports and it's a lot,
yeah, all
but
the things, yeah.
I do try to get involved, but it's hard. And then they're
Mhm,
far. I live in Pasadena, so that's another
mm,
problem. But
yeah,
if I even just did local things, that would
yeah.
be probably better. So
Yeah, I think this doing the chamber would be great for you because I wouldn't think there's a lot of people in your I mean, like your local chamber, like go and see like what kind of businesses go to their meetings.
yeah,
But I think that that could be something cool. But I think the learning part is great that you do
I do
that.
love to learn. I
Congratulations
do
on
love
that.
Thank you. I love to learn. Love it. I'll take a class. I just took a floral class yesterday. No desire to be a florist, but I
Yeah.
think I need to know what what is out there so that if I have to talk to a florist and they want signage, like it helps
Mm,
me. So I feel like anything that I do has to benefit me in some way,
yeah.
whether it's for business or just personal. I love to educate
I
myself.
love that you said that about for I think that that would even be a great partnership.
Yeah, I work with florists sometimes.
Like, cause you see more, like, smaller boutiques,
They
and
have these.
so yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know,
I
maybe
do,
some
and I need a list. I need to create a list, and that's something I have so many things that I need to do and wanna do.
yes,
It becomes overwhelming, but yeah, I had a whole list. I had someone create this whole list of people, but I need to go back to it, and so hopefully during the holiday. I'll have a break, and
Yeah.
I'll be able to start, getting back into working on that because we are finishing up my website now, and just create a list of people that would be able to be interested. But at the same time, I didn't want to necessarily stay in the event industry. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna
Yeah.
still work with them, but
Yeah.
there are so many businesses that need promotional products because we do
Yeah.
those as well. So just finding out what they need is a great step. So LinkedIn, I had been using LinkedIn. I kind of stepped back a little bit,
Mhm.
but getting back into LinkedIn, I think that would be very helpful for us.
Yes, I agree. Well, I appreciated our conversation. So, how can people connect with you and follow or learn more about how they can possibly hire you?
So you can follow me on Instagram at KKS Designs underscore. You can join our mailing list on our website at KKS designs,
Mhm.
DESIGNS.com. You can find me and reach out to me one way or the other through there.
So, well, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today. And I hope that people really were able to gather some really great information and insight on how to actually grow their luxury custom signage brand.
Thank you so much.
Great. Wow, this has been such a great episode. This episode was really a reminder that your creativity is a gift, but the structure you build around it determines your income. And if you're ready to stop undercharging, stop winging it, and finally step into your creative, profitable business, comment below and tell me, what is your current profit margin? And let's start normalizing real conversations around numbers. And thank you again for tuning in and my amazing guest that was able to share transparently how she's been able to grow. So until the next episode.